Thank you for staying with us. We start with some cycling news. Soweto hosted its first ever Soweto 100-kilometer Ride the Township cycling event, celebrating Kasi culture, community, and the joy of being on two wheels this past weekend. More than 220 cyclists took to the streets at a relaxed pace, navigating the usual township mix of potholes, taxis, and warm hospitality. This event is the brainchild of Buhle Madlala, a driving force behind making cycling affordable and accessible in South Africa. She's the co-founder of the National Cycling Academy Forum, a non-profit bringing together township and rural cycling academies to create real pathways for young riders. Madlala is pushing to transform the sport by tackling affordability, providing grassroots support and equipment, and opening doors for cyclists from undeserved communities to reach provincial and even international levels. Well, she happens to be in studio with us alongside Mpumi Mtinto, who's also a co-founder of the Soweto 100. He's from Bukiponi, so making sure that the cyclists have something to ride. Guys, thank you so much for joining us in studio. But just to talk about this event, there's this misconception that people from rural communities or from the townships do not enjoy riding bikes, and that's not true, is it?
It is a myth, as you say. I think we can just say that the sport is poorly understood. We do ride in townships and in rural areas. We just lack the technical expertise. We can't get referees to come and officiate our competitions in townships. So this is where we fill in the gap. This is the pathway that we're trying to create with Bukiponi, who does township tours, and the cycling that happened this past weekend is testament to what we're trying to do.
Mpumi, just to come in there, I mean,
Yep.
you part and parcel of this process of making sure that each child can perhaps ride a bicycle in the township. Just take us through how difficult or easy was it to put an event of this magnitude in the township?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult. But because we've been doing bicycle tours for years, so we sort of like have an understanding between, believe it or not, taxi drivers. They do give us right of way every now and again, but it was pretty tough. So I think the collective effort made it a bit easier. Kodwa, hey man, potholes, taxis, township politics. But at the end of the day, you always have the Soweto hospitality, you know, especially when something like this comes into town. And I think people were missing something like this. Like Ubuhle said, we do ride bikes, but we just don't have official events in the township, you know. And whenever people come to the township, they only go to small parts of Soweto and not necessarily the whole of Soweto. So people have been craving something like this. So I think that's why it was very welcomed. But I mean, it was tough to put it together.
Yeah.
Buhle, the route was quite interesting. I think it got to touch on certain nerve points of Soweto and allowed people to be in touch with the community of Soweto, not necessarily being in your car with your windows rolled up.
No.
You know, just giving that experience. Just take us through the route.
So the route, literally, Soweto is southwestern townships.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a township that we didn't ride on. From Orlando West, where Mpumi plies his trade at Bukiponi. We started in Orlando West. DK, we went through Middlelands, we went through Dobsonville, we went through Protea. What is interesting is I think people are missing something like this in the township because, I mean, we started at 6:30 in the morning, but already we had spectators, we had people cheering us on, we had youngsters coming in and joining in. We had car washes. It was very hot on Saturday, spraying all the riders as they passed by. You know, we had old mama crying and wanting to ask. So I think putting through the route, we had to do a lot of compliance. So we had to request escorts from JMPD so that we make sure that in the taxis and all the riders on the road are protected. But yeah, it was quite interesting because we wanted to touch in all around the heritage sites and the iconic places in Soweto and just give them a general feel of Kasi hospitality and Kasi Township.
Bumi, did you expect the kind of turnout that you got, and did you touch all demographics? How did it look?
we did not expect that kind of interest,
Yeah.
which, you know, it's our fault because it is a great concept.
Yeah.
And I think we knew, but I think we're also scared of that turnout. Kotwa, I did not expect those numbers. So that's why we had to get compliance in place when the numbers started going up. But yes, we did touch a lot of different demographics because, I mean, this is, for us to showcase why Soweto is more than Vilakazi Street. As much as we love Vilakazi Street being the only street with 2 Nobel Prize winners in the world, Kotwa, there's Izola, there's Umdeni, there's Meadowlands, you know, other townships that have their own history. And I think we managed to do that. And just to bring light into these different townships, you know what I mean, to show there is Amasaba because you know, as confusing as that sounds, you need to come to the next Soweto 100 to see what I mean. Kotwa, there's also just different people all around. You know, some of the best musicians in South Africa come from those small townships, different townships of Soweto.
I mean, back in 2010, I remember when they were still building Budi BRT.
Yes.
There were also cycling lanes being built for Soweto. And how's that going along? Are people using these cycling lanes? Do we understand them? Is cycling still seen as, you know, an elitist sport, or does it have some sort of appeal to the young black up-and-coming kids in the township?
I think from what we stand for as the National Cycling Academies Forum, we are a nationwide organization with clubs. So we are trying to change that whole concept because the sport is poorly understood. So a lot of people ride, but they don't know the technicalities of what it means to be a cyclist, how to ride in a peloton. So it is a whole lot of education that needs to happen. And I think this is the reason why, as NCAF, we've decided that we should be doing competitions. We need a road, you need a bike, and you can do competitions. We don't need to go to a suburb to ride, and we want to actually change that myth about the sport being an elitist sport. If you think about it, it's literally our heritage. I'm sure you had a grandfather that had a bike that was riding a bike somewhere. To work, you know what I mean? Even when we grew up, you had a tricycle, you had a BMX, and for some reason, when it comes to now understanding the sport as a professional sport where one can actually be a Simpiwe Shabalala of cycling, you know what I mean? We need to do more competitions. We need our clubs to train more. We have done a lot of skills transfer for a number of clubs, for mechanics, for coaches, for team managers. But I think what Mpumi does, because he is in the community, is quite commendable. He receives all the kids. I think you're starting a club, Nembum.
Yeah, definitely. That's the next step, just to make it even more accessible. Because with tourists that come in, these are people with different knowledge. You know, we take some of the tourists around who are former pro cyclists, so they have more knowledge. They have bikes to give, you know, to the next generation. So yeah, starting at the Pokiponi Cycling Club in 2026, just to make sure Wonkumtu gets an opportunity to be part of the cycling industry. And in terms of the bike lanes, they're still being used somewhere because they go, and then it's a car wash. They go and go, there's a taxi rank. So it's very difficult to, I suppose, to compete with cars and motorists because, like Ubuhle keeps saying, it's very misunderstood, the whole cycling thing. And it just goes even to cycling from point A to point B. You know, people won't give you the same respect as they'll give a car. Yet it is a mode of transport.
Do we need cycling tracks?
A cycling track?
Cycling track, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We definitely do. I think we do, especially with a township like Soweto, where you have people that are moving around within the township, you know. So we do. I always say, you know, sitting in traffic is not a sign of success. People say, I'm stuck in traffic as if it's a status thing. It's not. There could have been many things you could have done with your time. And having cycling lanes can reduce those kind of things.
So I was saying, the government tries to, in October, I think, around Transport Month, they try to promote people to use alternative modes of transport other than cars. And they've got this thing called non-motorized transportation. But I think if the collaboration with the people that do use bicycles is not happening, because it's kind of like, oh, okay, we're supposed to ride bicycles, but hey, we ride bicycles, so we could drive this message a bit more. So I think government needs to try and reach out more to professional clubs, people that live every day riding bicycles, when all of the thinking around how to promote people leaving bicycles and leaving cars and getting onto bicycles as a mode of transport and as sport and for relaxation. So there's quite a lot that you can do on a bike.
And a last question, I guess it goes to the both of you. Is there that hunger from young black kids in the township to want to ride?
Yeah, there is. Unfortunately, the information around it is not enough. But dude, you can live in Europe just by becoming a bicycle mechanic, just fixing pro team bikes. You know, kids don't have that much information. Kodwa, we've seen a rise of amatorki stance bicycles. So that shows that there is a hunger to ride a bike. But obviously, as I suppose black people, we always take what we have and turn it into the greatest thing.
Because I think the stance culture is because we don't have cycling enterprises in our township. So even if you want to buy a bicycle, it's not like you can go to a bicycle shop somewhere around the corner and go buy a bicycle or fix it there. And I think it goes to what, as an organization, we're planning to do. So this year, we're planning to ramp up quite a bit on our advocacy. And we want to try and get the minister's ear. Because cycling, believe it or not, is not part of the minister's sport in his barometer. It's not a priority sport. So like soccer can be called into parliament to account for why there is no resources, why there is no black talent, why there is no... So for cycling, because it's not a priority sport, we don't get to account for just the lack of transformation that has happened in the sport. So there is quite a lot. So next year we hope to really ramp it up with our advocacy and do a lot of competitions. Soweto 100 is happening again on the 6th of December. Same date, 2026. It was bigger, so we don't know how big it's going to get next year, but we just want people to come through and ride the township with us.
All right. Thanks, guys. That is Buhle Madlala and, of course, Mpumi Mtinzo, if I'm not pronouncing it incorrectly. Mpumi Mtinzo. They are from Soweto 100. That event happened this past weekend in Soweto. Just making sure and reminding everyone that cycling is not an elitist sport. You at home can also be part of this journey. That's where we're going to leave this from the sports desk. Your headlines right after this.